Over the summer, our English teacher, Miss Fuller, made us do a summer project that could have been anything that did not involve sitting on a computer and just writing. For my part, I chose to do something about Somalia because I think that while people are thinking about going on vacations, spending money on things that weren't necessary, people are dying in Somalia. So, I'm going to present the country first. Somalia is a country that is located in the Horn of Africa. Its capital is Mogadishu, and its area is 637,657 kilometers square. The population is 9.3 million according to the UN in 2010, and the life expectancy is 50 years for men and 53 years for women. The economy is very weak, meaning that Somalia is a very poor country. The polity is socialism, and the main exports are livestock, bananas, hides, and fish. So I'm going to present Somalia as a poor country. Somalia is today the second poorest country in the world, which means that its degree of poverty is really at its extreme. Around 43% of Somalians live beneath the poverty line, meaning that over 53% of Somalians are beyond poverty. The southern part suffers more than the northern part when it comes to poverty, and its economy is not well managed, and there's a failure of the government. So, what is in the news? Why am I interested in Somalia? What made me evoke this country? Recently, the UN has declared for the first time in 60 years famine in that country, and people are dying. Meaning that it's been 60 years now that UN has not declared famine. But today, in 2011, Somalia is facing a difficulty that no one has ever faced since for 60 years. Nearly 10 million Somalians are in need of urgent assistance, otherwise they will die. Several causes are announced, such as frequent droughts, mismanagement in terms of politics, and terrorism, and the UN. The severe droughts. Somalia is a country known for its numerous droughts registered throughout the year. Almost 10 months out of 12, there is no rain. So Somalia is a very dry country. Crops cannot develop since there's no water. They cannot grow up because they need water to grow up. And animals dehydrate, thus farmers can't run their business properly. If there are no animals, farmers won't have any means of transportation, and animals will not be able to survive, so they will die. People don't have anything to drink. Since there are droughts, they are obliged to go in lakes or rivers, which may be very dangerous for their health, which is why these droughts can cause malnutrition and diseases such as diarrhea and pneumonia. And they are also missing development due to droughts. So, there's also a failure of the government. There has been no established government. And there has been anarchy since the fall of Syed Bars, who had a dictatorship in 1991. So we can say that since 1991, Somalia has not had a president. Every time there's a project to install a new government, clans organize fights. Somalia is a country where there are many varieties of religions and ethnic groups. Thus, whenever there's a project to install a new government, meaning to elect a president and its government, there are always problems because each ethnic group wants to be represented. The political authority is struggling to impose itself due to the numerous divergences because people aren't united, then there cannot be an established government, and there are wrong diplomatic relations. So Somalia is a country that does not have good relationships with other countries. Thus, it cannot be developed because there are no exchange between other countries. There are also terrorist tactics as a cause. The settlement of some warlords, such as Al Qaeda in the country, has made it very difficult for Somalians to be developed. Because since they are here, they prevent inhabitants from receiving help from organizations by restricting access to the region, and also they capture all the ads, so everything organizations may bring, it goes to warlords. Also, the terrorist Al-Shabaab governs the country because he is the extreme chief. Whatever he decides is what is going to happen. The UN is also part of the causes of famine in Somalia. Surprisingly, even though the intentions of the United Nations is noble, they have some part of responsibilities regarding the famine in Somalia. In fact, this help leads to some consequences resulting from slump of the products of Somalians insofar as the market is saturated. This is because when the UN gives food freely, Somalians cannot exhaust their stock, thus they are obliged um, they are obliged to to keep those some products that they produce because they cannot sell it since the UN is always providing its help. So this may hinder the economy. So what is being done? Many Somalians go to bordering countries in order to be welcomed in some centers. There are many centers that have been opened, especially for famine in Somalia. So in bordering countries such as Kenya, there are some centers such as Dabab, where Somalians can go, and there they are provided food. Food is provided and drink, and somewhere to sleep. Some organizations like World Food Program ask for online donations, and they also airlifted 10 tons of emergency supplies. And the US gave 1,500 million dollars for humanitarian efforts, and the UN is still providing its help, and other organizations such as the World Bank, the USAID, and all. And some people also are donating. But there's something that has been noticed. The help is not enough. The help is really not enough. The UN needs $1.6 billion more to stop the crisis, and really it has not obtained a lot. The centers are overcrowded as people are not at ease, meaning that if, for example, a center had to welcome 1,000 Somalians, it now has to welcome 10,000 Somalians, which makes it very difficult because the centers cannot, first of all, the centers cannot welcome all those people, and they don't have enough food, enough drink, and enough place to put them in. The needs are also increasing daily because each and every day the number of Somalians who are in total need of food increases. People are also dying more frequently due to malnutrition and just because they did not eat. Children also suffer a lot from that famine because they have malnutrition and their parents cannot feed them. The benefactors have also difficulties to deliver aid due to terrorism and other problems. The reason why this topic interests me is not just because people need to help Somalians, but because this crisis may affect other countries, such as, for example, Kenya. This country may negatively affect This famine may never negatively affect Kenya because if Somalians go to bordering countries like Kenya and they migrate in there, then they might end up in this situation as well, because Kenya is already not a rich country, it's a poor country, and if other people from other poor countries come into that country, it will only get poorer. This may also promote insecurity in countries and the view of health and several other aspects. Because if anyone can enter the country, they already have their problems. So if they enter the country, they may contaminate others, and the country is less secured, and they might be problems, health problems. So I might propose some solutions. I don't know whether they may be helpful or not, but according to me, if those things are done, maybe the situation in Somalia will change. So, in my opinion, the first thing to do to eradicate famine in Somalia is to sanitize the government plan. Because really, if even with everyone helping, if there's no established government, Somalia can never become a normal country. Because if there's no government, there are no rules, and people will just do whatever they want, and there will continue to be fights, and no one will be able to take care of the food, for example, so that there will be less malnutrition. And the droughts, even though droughts continue, they might be some things to be done to replace the rain that has to bring water. So if there is no government, how can this be done? The second thing will be to stop wars. Wars can only lead to danger and problems. Somalia has already a lot of problems, and if the wars do not stop, it will only get more important. Another thing would be to eradicate terrorism in that country, because some people really want to help, but they are afraid, and they have every right to be afraid, because if they are doing something good and something bad might come from it, they might tell themselves that it is really not necessary to help them. They also need to create humanitarian corridors in order to route easily the aid, because sometimes there are people who are bringing food, for example, but the food may not, but people who need the food may not access it easily. Thus, it may create some problems. Another solution may be to create effective and substantial involvement. Maybe that effective and substantial involvement of countries, mainly rich ones, such as the United States, England, France, Canada, and really all rich countries. Because even though poor countries can help, their help might be really small compared to what rich countries could have done. Another thing may be to donate more often, because really, if we give $1, if every person gives $1, it might not affect that person, but it will help considerably people who are struggling in Somalia. Thus, everyone should help, because really, even if it's not our country, it's our world, and everyone needs to receive help when needed. So, a question everyone should ask himself is, what can he do about it? Because Somalia really needs our help, and we really should help them.